What up, everybody? Sam here, and today is the 16th of September, and I'm coming at you with my weekly health update. Today, I wanted to talk about a little bit about what I've been recovering from, some of the recent symptoms, and then I'm going to share some tips and things I've learned about detoxing. So, as always, of course, like, comment, subscribe, share this with someone that you know might be going through some health issues. To give you a bit of summary, what I've been dealing with has been post-vaccine long COVID, which that then triggered my underlying Lyme and then underlying mono, as both those came back positive, and my mono antibodies actually went way up over the course of me being sick, and I already had mono at a younger age, so a resurgence. But long story short, I've been detoxing and healing for the last 4 years or so, and I've been getting consistently better. But if you've been dealing with recovering from long-term health issues, you know it's not a linear progression. It's ups and downs. And so I've tried just about every type of healing thing under the book, or under the sun, in the book, you name it. And what I've recently come to has been an alkaline diet. So, for example, in April, I thought I was just about fully better. And then I moved here to Phoenix, and I started getting kind of dizzy. And then I got my stem cells, and after I got stem cells, my health just fell off a cliff. And I was like, there's got to be something I can do here. And the only thing that I hadn't done so far in my treatment has been an alkaline diet. So I got on the alkaline diet, rapidly reduced my meat intake, and I noticed that my pain went way down, and my health seemed to be improving quite a bit in a few weeks. However, then it fell off a cliff as I started really herxing. And so for the first few months, I was throwing up and dizzy quite a lot, on top of my other underlying symptoms: the pain, shakes, fatigue, anxiety, trouble sleeping, restless leg, you name it. If you've been dealing with adverse reaction to the vaccine or long COVID, you certainly can relate to those symptoms. And as I've been thinking about it, the level of how you get sick and what symptoms you have as you get worse and worse kind of go in reverse when you're detoxing. So to give you an example, the last month, I have seemingly caught a head cold 4 different times, which doesn't make any sense, because when you get a head cold, you should get antibodies and your immune system should fight things off. So I was talking to my detox coach, and we don't think it's a virus, but it was all the symptoms of a head cold, like mild fever, getting a lot of mucus coming out of the nose, sinuses will be burning, then throat burns, and your body is achy and shaky, brain fog. However, in the past, when I had, in the last 4 years, while I've been recovering from this with underlying health issues, I have had it where every time I catch a cold or a flu or COVID for that matter, anytime I catch a virus, my underlying symptoms actually kind of go away, and I'm just dealing with the symptoms from the cold or flu. And then after I recover from that, I think the fever kind of burns out some of the underlying issues. So after I had caught COVID again, last year, and then the flu earlier last year, I actually had felt some of the best that I'd felt since I got these health issues. But to get back on topic here, when I first started the alkaline diet, it was a lot of dizziness and nausea. And the nausea lasted for a month and a half, lots of vomiting, and then that went away. And I haven't thrown up in the last 2 months. But the dizziness has stuck around until just about recently. And up until I was a little bit dizzy yesterday, but I've noticed I can push through it in most cases. Knock on wood, of course. However, yeah, knock on wood there. But it seems that the dizziness phase of this detox is kind of going away, and what it's moving into has been catching these head colds every week. And when I talked to my detox coach, shout out to Greens Health and Wellness, it's not actually, we don't think it's a virus. It's just that my body is now moving to the sinus part of the detox. And to give you a bit of backstory, when I first had gotten sick, and this is kind of the layers of the detox and goes in reverse order of how you get sick, but I had, it seemed I got the vaccine in August 21, and then starting in September, October, I seemed to catch a cold almost every week. And it would go away by like the weekend, then I'd go out and party, then it would come back, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse until I seemingly had a cold at all times. Then I got sinusitis, and then they even did sinus surgery and I went on disability, but that didn't, I just kept getting worse after that. And so I never gotten dizzy until just recently, back in May. But as I'm moving through this detox, it the symptoms, like one of the first symptoms I had was pain. The pain is still here, of course, unfortunately. However, the sinus issues, that was what the main culprit was, or that was what the doctors thought it was for like 6 or 8 months, was just sinus issues. They couldn't explain the shaking or the tremors, but they just thought my sinusitis was so bad, my body was just, going through that. But now that I'm moving so far into my detox with this alkaline diet, I've noticed that this cold, it starts with, I'll get a burning in my sinuses, and I got lunch with or dinner with a friend the other day, and I felt fine. Well, fine, still underlying stuff, but able to go out and get dinner. And then quite literally, like, I went to clear my nose and I felt this thing of mucus just come down, and it was nasty green. And not soon after, my body started shaking. I started feeling like I had a head cold. The throat was starting to burn, more mucus coming out, kind of achy, feeling hot. Didn't have a fever though, but what I'm getting at here is that your body goes through phases with the detox. I called it the detox jawbreaker. And so now it seems like the dizziness is going away, and what's happening now is I'm getting these mild head colds, which is just my sinus drainage. So my health coach says it's a good sign, because the body's pushing more stuff out. And think about it, when you start getting sick, you keep adding on layers of viruses and bacteria, toxins, heavy metals. And so when your body starts to detox it, it's going to start from the top and work its way down. So for example here, I did a 21-day juice fast cleanse back in September of 22. And I had felt better than how I felt in July of this last year, or this year, like a month or two ago. And that was pretty jarring for me, because I thought I was, much better. However, the body, it'll clear out detoxing and layers of stuff and whatnot. And it uses so much energy to do that, then, and it's so hard on the body, because you're pulling out toxins that make you feel bad on the way in, they're going to feel bad on the way out. And what had happened was, after, I had a really rough March health-wise. I did ivermectin and fenbendazole for like 13 days. Felt pretty crazy while I was on that. However, it went away. And then April, I was like, I'm about 95% better. For example, I moved back home with my folks in January, and my roommate, Jesse, he drove me up there, and he drove 98% of the way. I drove 2 hours of that 20-something hour drive. And so that was really nice of him, and I wouldn't have been able to drive myself up with the car full of stuff back in January. However, in April, when I moved down here to Phoenix, I was thinking, shit, I'm feeling so good that I could drive myself down with the cat, get a hotel. It'd be rough, but I could do it. But I decided against that, just moved my stuff, flew down. And what had happened was, then I started getting dizzy. Then I got the stem cells. Stem cells rebooted my immune system, but then it made me herx even more because it was detoxing. And so kind of what I'm getting at now, wanted to cover, was like tips and things. I've noticed that for me, when I wake up and I'm in pain, like severe pain in my calves, just getting my legs moving, like that restless leg type thing where it's in pain, you have to kind of shake your leg, it needs blood flow. A lot of the issues from post-vaccine long COVID are circulatory. So my hypothesis is blood isn't getting to the areas it needs to. So you get that deep-rooted ache in your extremities. So I've noticed that waking up and going on light walks, just, standing and moving my legs back and forth, moving my calves up and down and getting some blood flow, that does help with the pain. I also noticed that, I've been forcing myself to be more social lately. And, on a bad health day where you're sitting there shaking and you're in pain, like, there's not much you can do, but being social does heal. Now, I wasn't social like at all when I was dizzy. So when you're dizzy, you can't really do anything. Like the world's spinning. It's hard to do literally anything. But since the dizziness has been subsiding for the last week, I've actually gone out and seen friends, hung out a few times, and I've noticed that even when I'm like achy and shaky before I go hang out with my friends, when I'm there, your mind is off of it, and you're not even thinking about it. Of course, like when you kind of adjust or move, you might feel a little bit of it, but just being social, it definitely heals. And I know it's tough because if you're watching this and you're sick and sitting in bed, you're bedridden, you're at home alone, like you need to force yourself to get out. You need to gaslight yourself and tell yourself that you're healthy. One of my mantras that I say is I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm lucky, I'm wealthy. I just say that over and over again until I start, believing it and feeling better. But I've noticed that going out, and luckily I live close to like a hotel with a bunch of restaurants, and my grocery store place is right across the street, so I can get out and go sit there. I can sit at the bar, of course not drinking, but order food. And just getting out of the house and getting moving has been very therapeutic for me. And some stuff I've started doing for my pain has been this stuff, Voltaren, and then also this hemp cream. I'm looking to get like some CBD cream. I don't know if that's showing right. But I've noticed that when I wake up and I'm in lots of pain, putting that on, that helps. I also have these, I think they're called like Cairo, like pain patches. They use like frequency, you just stick them on, put them under your socks. That has helped a bit. And for the dizziness, Dramamine, I have both the full strength and the like less drowsy version. And less drowsy when I'm trying to go out. But I also bought these Native Remedies, all natural homeopathic. This one's called Vertifree. So this relieves dizziness and nausea. And then I have Tremor Soothe, which helps shakes, tremors, twitches, and spasms. As you can see, I am shaking a little bit. That's just, part of the game that we play with. But yeah, I've also, another tip is that I've really restricted my caffeine and stimulant intake. I was noticing that I would catch these colds after a few days of like stimulant use. Of course, the ones you're prescribed, but then also caffeine. The whole goal of the alkaline diet is to keep your body from getting acidic. And you can definitely tell when your body's acidic. You kind of have that feeling. There's some light regurgitation. Your stomach is bubbly. And you don't want that. And what I've noticed is that like when you take the prescription stuff for ADHD or drink caffeine, it does something to your body with raising cortisol and making you more acidic. So that's kind of my hypothesis as to why I was catching these colds. And so what I've done is I've stopped my stimulant use entirely. And I've noticed that since I have stopped that, and knock on wood, I haven't caught one of my head colds again. So yeah, that's my tips and tricks. And to leave you with a bit of motivation is, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're probably in a rough place. You're going through the doldrums of bad health. You might be like me, where you were living home alone and didn't leave the house for like 5-6 days on end because you were feeling so bad. And it can be really tough, but just know that God lets us be challenged and gives us struggle, because it's through struggle that we grow. And there's two ways you can take it when you get sick. You can be, oh, woe is me, and just let it run its course and hope for the best. Or you can fight this thing. And if you're watching this, I'm guessing you're a fighter. And just tell yourself, gaslight yourself, say, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm lucky, I'm wealthy. Say those things, and your body's going to start believing it. You can't negatively obsess on how bad you feel and how bad life is and how tough it is that you can't see your friends because you're in so much pain and shakes and whatnot. You can't do that. You got to focus on the positive, and you got to aim for that. And every single day that passes is another day closer to the day that you are 100% in health. So don't forget that. Keep with the fight. And I hope these videos help. I like documenting my recovery to share what I've learned, because it, anecdotally, sharing my experience, I've been through so much that I want to be able to share that story to help others in their health recovery. So if you know anyone who's been struggling with long-term health issues, send them this video. If you yourself are, please like, subscribe, and comment. if you want to connect for a call or whatnot. I'm doing this to help people. So leave a comment. I can give you my Instagram. I think it is linked to this profile. If not, just leave a comment and send me a message, and I'll be happy to connect and share some of my knowledge to hopefully help you. But with that being said, have a great Tuesday. God bless, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.